empowered, and I left excited to set up my classroom for my incoming sixth graders. And my principal, boy, did she set me up for success with journaling between us, professional development, and unwavering encouragement and support. And she always reminded us at every meeting that our focus was on kids by writing the word KIDS on a large piece of paper. And anytime our meetings got sidetracked with topics about our own needs, she would subtly reach forward and touch that paper. We were there for kids. Well, my school was a place of energy, a hub of trust, and a true investment in our community and each other. And my principal even saw something in me that I didn't see in myself, the ability to teach other adults in professional development. She set me up for success with trainings and even had me as the lead, even though I was still truly considered a rookie teacher in Indiana. She empowered and trusted in me. Well, fast forward 10 years to the wild west of Arizona. My future husband and I headed west to live near his parents. Well, boy, was this a whole different world. Apparently, at 10 years of experience, I was considered a veteran or lead teacher in this desert state. And I was stunned when I went to 9 interviews and was offered 9 contracts on the spot. Well, I quickly learned that Arizona was in a teacher shortage crisis. And because I was such a veteran, the positions that I was considered qualified for and trusted with based on those years were around teacher coaching or mentoring. I had been invested in my principal, and so I saw that moving into those district positions would be a huge step forward in my career that would not have happened in Indiana for at least another 10 years. So we moved across the country, and I was hired as a district curriculum and technology specialist. I was so excited to attend Induction, imagining that it was mirror my previous experience as a new hire in Indiana. So I drove to Induction, followed those emailed directions, and absolutely panicked when tumbleweed rolled across the road and got stuck in my car's grill. I thought, okay, girl, I am not in Indiana anymore. Well, I walked into the school, I followed the crowd to the multi-purpose room, which I learned was the lunchroom and the gym combined. I was told to find a seat. So I very gracefully navigated in a skirt and heels into an elementary-sized cafeteria table, sat on a bench with no back. And a few folks who came in late, I noticed were given kinder chairs to sit in. Looking around, I thought, I wonder if I'm overdressed here. Others were wearing t-shirts, leggings, shorts, and flip-flops. And the air conditioning vent was blowing so loudly that depending on where you were seated, you couldn't hear the squawky microphone. Well, a woman who was the assistant superintendent turned on the overhead projector and began the 5-hour induction where we went over HR policies, bloodborne pathogens, and the phases of beginning teachers. Notably, though, there was only 20 who were brand new out of the 100 in the room, based on the show of hands, or based on those who could hear the microphone. We were then slid trays of lunch from the cafeteria with some kind of pizza option that tasted a bit like cardboard. Oh, and did I mention that I was still sitting after 4 hours on that bench without a back? And it wasn't over yet. I had another hour of math curriculum updates. The only problem was that I didn't actually teach math, nor did another 90% of the room. Well, needless to say, when my boss came in to check on how is it going, I apparently didn't hide my reaction well. So she pulled me aside from the group to see what was happening. Well, once I told her what I thought induction, what could be like, and how it sets the tone and culture to really welcome folks while setting them up for success in their roles, she said, wow, I've never seen or heard anything like that. But Kelly, I trust you. I know your reputation from your prior work, and your enthusiasm here about this is contagious. I'll support you if you will run this next year. Our department can take this on. You're in charge. I'll be supporting from behind and clearing the way, whatever I can do to help you. First, I need to fight the battle to get induction moved fully to our department. I said, yeah, you are on. And you know, I have often thought back over that exact conversation through the years and wondered, what if she told me, nope, too bad. This is how we do it here. welcome to Arizona. Or if she said, well, Kelly, that sounds all well and good, but let's see how you do after we work together for a few years. But she truly demonstrated a sense of trust and empowered me to be able to shine. She showed an investment in me. Well, fast forward to induction the following year. This was my baby. I finagled donations, a budget, and this consumed several months of work in professional development. Imagine a welcome party where each person receives an invitation, a reminder, and even has a name tag where they're escorted to their table with full adult-sized chairs. We had a theme, think superheroes or pirates, racing or baseball, guest speakers, food, snacks, and we honored the experience in the room by hosting breakout sessions based on your role for the year and specific need to know information. Anything that was simply signatures required or matter of record for HR was done at their sites or through the employee portal. We also arranged for inspirational speakers sprinkled in with prizes. A guided bus tour of the district helped to truly understand the entire area, which was helpful since many of our new hires were from out of state. And at each school, the admin staff gave out popsicles or treats, which is super appreciated in the heat of over 100 degrees in Arizona. Then we took our group to a donated lunch by a local restaurant, truly setting the tone for how happy we were for each and every staff member to be there. As a district, it was clear that we were truly investing in our employees, a raving success. We closed induction with a graduation clap line, with all the admin teams welcoming their new hires. I felt relief, pride, and pure joy that this was the start to someone's experience working in our district, where folks might potentially stay maybe for 20 years. And I have to say, induction and beginning teacher support became my jam. I became known for this work, including consulting with other districts on how they could create their own induction programs. And the years flew by, amazing, with even more amazing innovative themes, improvements, and tweaks, always trying to top the year before. And then I got asked to apply for the Director of Curriculum and Innovation as my boss was retiring, the boss who had invested in me, trusted me, pushed me, and supported me. And I got the job. The realization that I was going to then have to hand my baby over to someone else hit me hard. I was going to have to trust my colleagues and my own replacement that they would plan and run induction with as much care, energy, and investment into my baby as I had shown. I realized I had literally wrapped up my identity in the success of induction, and I actually considered not accepting the position, really. And then there I found myself, the boss in the meeting, running the induction planning. And I was at the whiteboard, scribbling out ideas to decide the year's theme. The Oriental Trading Company catalog was out on the table, and I realized I was standing at the board and I had put the marker in my pocket. My replacement and colleagues were not leading the discussion. They were participating, but it was as if it had been the same as last year, and the year before, and the year before, and the year before. They were waiting on me to make the decisions. Interestingly, our author, Liz Wiseman, uses the phrase and analogy of standing at the whiteboard with a group of colleagues or students during a brainstorming session, where you as the leader are holding the marker. And when you take the pen to add your ideas, do you give it back, or does it stay in your pocket? When you give the marker back, your people know they are still in charge. And as I asked for my employees' input and I listened to them, I realized I could not wear both hats, the boss and the induction queen. So I told them they were off to a great start and I was stepping out to let them get all of the rest figured out. I then handed the whiteboard marker back to my replacement. I told them we had the structure outlined for the 3 days and I'd be glad to help with answering questions or bouncing ideas off of, but I had confidence they had this. And I told them this was a perfect time if they had new ideas on how to make this better. And I left the meeting. It was painful and strangely sad to me And yet I know that if my team was truly going to own this event and experience, they had to be the ones leading it. My replacement needed to find her own way within the group, showcase her talents and expertise in professional development, curriculum, and mentoring. And they needed to make this their own without me. I had to clearly demonstrate that I was trusting and investing in them. And wow, did they show me and everyone else. Induction was truly phenomenal. Some of the sessions and collaborative structures put in place were better received than I had ever seen. The talent of my staff at facilitating professional learning was amazing. The main goal of developing a culture of support and providing necessary information to get the staff ready to start the school year was accomplished. And with my new role, I was able to jump in and remove a few roadblocks that had emerged and clear the path so that my staff could focus on participants. There were very few glitches. And after that final day of induction, we sat down to debrief, exhilarated and exhausted. We had our usual chips and salsa as we made notes about what had gone well, what changes we needed to make before we forgot. And I could see how proud my staff was of themselves, of their collaboration, and of the work they did. At that moment, I realized that I was no longer the induction queen. I trusted my staff, and they came through in big ways. They were exceptionally skilled and highly capable. You put the right people in the right seats, get out of the way while holding that net of support. The invested becomes the investor, leaving the pen with those who are doing the work. And often, when the stakes are high, many leaders and instructors or parents may jump in and take over. And yet we know and understand that our job is to coach, invest, and teach while keeping accountability and respecting those natural consequences. But this is also the place where our diminishing tendencies could creep in. Because diminishers hold on to the ownership. They jump in and out based on their level of interest in the project and take back responsibility for problems that they may have delegated. Diminishers believe if they don't dive into the details and follow up, then other people won't deliver. Basically, people will never figure this out without me. Well, I have found that I struggle with those diminishing tendencies at various times in my role as a leader and instructor, but most often in the role that's the hardest for me, and that is of a parent. So to get you thinking about how you navigate this tightrope of investing and micromanaging, it's important to reflect on your own potentially diminishing tendencies. And for me, that's rescuer or protector. So I have 3 little scenarios for you to process, and I'd appreciate if you'd humor me and consider which letter you would choose for these multiple choice answers. One from a personal parent point of view, or think of yourself as an aunt, uncle, or chosen family, and 2 as an instructor point of view. For each one, I'd ask you to consider this question: how do I develop investment and empowerment as compared to reliance on me? All right, here's scenario 1. Your kiddo calls home and says that they left their homework on the table as they were up super late working on it and they didn't get to put it in their backpack. This is the first time they've asked you to run something to them. Do you, A, tell them, sorry, I have a job and I need to get to work? B, run it up to the school, understanding and say, I forget things too. C, tell them you'll do your best to drop it off, but not make any guarantees and see how your day plays out. Or D, tell them, sorry, but there are consequences when we forget things. So think how you would respond, A, B, C, or D. Okay. Scenario 2, you're teaching an online class. You have a student who is struggling with the written assignment requirements. There is so much editing and feedback needed that you as the instructor don't know where to start. Do you, A, tell them, sorry, there are so many errors. Please go to the Writing Center and I'll send you a few links of resources to support you. B, tell them, let's meet on Zoom and work through some of these ideas and talk through your writing together. C, provide written feedback and waypoint, making comments every other sentence. Or D, send the paper back without any feedback, telling them there is so much that needs to be addressed, they should just go ahead and resubmit. Again, be mindful of how do you develop investment and empowerment as compared to reliance on you. And our last scenario. You are redeveloping a new course in your program. Students have typically struggled with addressing all the key areas around a specific curricular area. In the redesign, you develop a template and student sample. Does this strategy, A, support varying needs of students' writing abilities, B, demean student intelligence by assuming that they need these documents, C, affirm students to help clarify expectations, or D, support students who need this type of scaffold to gain confidence in their writing? Again, you're considering how do you develop investment and empowerment as compared to reliance on you. So how did you do? The reality is there's not right or wrong answers here. It's back on that tightrope of investing and micromanaging. Simply a way of responding with an understanding that the decisions we make as instructional leaders, including the language we use, and being mindful and reflective of our own diminishing tendencies, can truly be transformative for our kiddos, our colleagues, and our students. I know how it felt when I was invested in all those years ago, trust and empowerment. And I saw the shift in my own staff when I handed the pen back. The invested becomes the investor. So let's talk about our work in the online classroom. How are you investing in your own students? How do you push against your own diminishing tendencies? And for stuck students, how do we keep them holding the pen? Thanks, Jackie.
Thank you, Kelly. Thank you for sharing your story about the experience of the welcome, the experiences of that plan, and the experience of valuing the people around you, the students you teach. Investment. In the banking world, investments are strategic plans and purposeful placement of funds to get that highest return. Banks do not put the money in a safe and say, "Money, we believe in you," and then shut the bank vault door. They plan and strategically place and monitor, and they commit to the tools that will return the most in the way of that dividend, that investment. You've shown us today that we can't simply say, "Students, class, we believe in you," and then shut the door. As educators at UAGC, we have a responsibility to plan, strategically assist students through those resources and that personal commitment so that they are getting the most of that educational dividend and that they leave us rich in the knowledge of their program of study. Simply put, your approach matters. Your willingness to invest in your students matters. I'm reminded by the famous TED Talk, "Every Child Needs a Champion" by Rita Pierson, which on YouTube now has nearly 5 million views. And Miss Pierson's mantra for that talk is simply the value and importance of human connection. She quotes James Comer as saying, "No significant learning can occur without a significant relationship." Today, Kelly, you've shown us that building those relationships for learning to occur, we must be significant in our investment of those learners. So for me, the question does resonate. How am I investing in my students? How do I push against my own personal diminishing tendencies as an educator? And for that stuck student, how do I keep them holding that pen? Audience members, we invite you to consider and share in the chat, but we'd also love to hear from you. To share with us using your audio, you can simply raise your hand using the hand icon should be at the bottom of your screen. And you'll then be given the opportunity to unmute your microphone and share your story or your reflection or thoughts. We invite you to join the conversation to inspire others with your story.
You know, Jackie, I was thinking about the scenarios because we actually included those because they were based on a conversation that you and I were having about the balance of supporting students and honoring the expertise that they bring to the classroom, while understanding that some of our students need additional scaffolding and support. And it's that constant juggling of, do I give an example? Do I put a template in? And how does that feel as received by students? I don't think there's a right answer to that, but I think it's a really interesting discussion, especially for us who are in online.
No, absolutely. Are we getting in the way by being so helpful from the onset? And again, I think your questions did a very good job in raising that to say how do we make all of these through the lens of the investment, not through the lens of stuff, because we can just give stuff away. But until they see that as that resource or that tool that speaks to them, and that they recognize that the instructor is investing in them.
Jen says here, we have to get out of our students' path to greatness while recognizing that they may need a boost from us to keep going. I think that is also sometimes like life dependent. So even sometimes our super strong students have life happen to them and have a week that they need an additional boost or support. But going back to Jackie, your comment about relationships, if we don't have the relationships built with our students to know, or to open up the door for them to be confident to tell us the week that they're having, we don't know then if they're, even if we didn't post the example, but we feel like it's useful now, or if we haven't opened up so that students feel like they can reach out to us, I think that's an ongoing challenge as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I see, Denise, thank you for validating the visual of the tightrope. And she goes on to say that it is truly the visual that represents your thinking. We have to differentiate our approach with our students, our children, and our colleagues, and that she loves the fact that you indicated it's not a one size fits all approach, and it certainly is not. Lots of reflection and self-growth in the process. Thank you, Denise, for putting that to print.
I see Debbie has her hand raised.
Oh, okay, I'm going to go ahead and give her the microphone.
Hi, guys. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Kelly, I wish that I had been in your BITSA. What an amazing opportunity, and just feeling so valued and taking what your first experience was and bringing so much of that vision into the program when you did it yourself. I was so amazed by your story, and wanted to just share that on the subject of relationship, like they're not going to reach out to you or maybe internalize your feedback if you haven't set that relationship. And one of the things that I do in a video welcome on that first day of class is I tell them that my office hours are open. I just have open office hours. When they need me, my office is open. And I say that to them because I don't want students to sit and fret and get anxious about a question that they have that they can't get the answer to, and that they're just becoming more and more stressed, not knowing what to do next. And I let them know that, if it's something I can answer in a text, I share my phone number with them. If I can answer it in a text, great. If we need a phone call, awesome. If we need a video conference so I can show them something, I can walk them through something, that it's whatever they need. It's whatever is most comfortable for them. And then I pair that with, and I think I got this from another colleague, and it is working so beautifully, which is to ask them, what are you most anxious about? How can I alleviate your anxieties as we get started? And what I continue to hear, the most prevalent thing is, I just needed to know you were there. I needed to know that I can reach you easily away from the computer. That calms me down so much. It tells me that I don't have to panic about reaching you. And I just had one more comment about templates, because I like templates. I share templates. I encourage templates, but I think something that we have to be careful about is we can get so tied to template organization ourselves that if our students think outside the box and organize their own thoughts, can you believe it? Organize their own thoughts, and it's different than the template, we have to commend them for, I see the way that you were thinking about how these ideas flow together, and that they shouldn't be cookie cutter. Students should be able to bring their experiences in and organize their thoughts. And so, we want to be careful about that. And that way we're giving them the pen and we're giving them permission to organize. We can just give them tools to show them one example of how to do that. But great job.
I love that, Debbie. One of the challenges that Jackie gave me when we first started talking about this chapter was, but Kelly, how do your students know that you're investing in them? So Debbie, exactly what you were talking about, what does that welcome look like? What is that email that you send out even before classes started? You get their names today, Thursday or Friday, and you send an email before the classes even started. What does that look and sound like? And when you're opening it up saying, I want to know about you, what's making you nervous, what's making you anxious, it changes the tone. It says I care and that I'm a real person. The other day I was doing a video and one of my kids came through and I just kept going. And I said, I'm doing a video, and they waved and walked off. But I left it in for my students because I wanted them to see that I'm juggling the same things they are. I'm home working and I have kids and the dog barks, things like that happen. So I think that relationship piece always ends up being so key.
Appreciate that, Debbie. I was in a meeting earlier where we had a conversation about when we give that embedded feedback, and that can be such a powerful thing. But as instructors, we can also go down a rabbit hole and point out every single thing that's wrong with your APA format and your grammar and just the whole menu of those things. And the conversation was, I feel like I've done too much. And if you think about that, when you do that level of specific grading, I don't think we could pry that pen out of your fingers if we tried. And what I've noticed that's been valuable is when I run across, a lot of times I'll see students will confuse the difference between paraphrasing and a direct quote in APA. And a lot of times it's just that simple indicator of including, the location, the page number, whatever it is. But rather than just telling them that, I will give them the feedback that there's something convoluted about the way you're doing this. So I need you to look up both ways, send me an email explaining both ways, and then I'll either set up a time for us to talk, or I'll just respond back, letting them know they got it right or this and that. But once I put it on them where I say, look, I need you to tell me more. And what I'm getting into is, I need to understand if you truly understand, and stop guessing and start looking it up. And that usually works better, because if I tell them, they know for the moment, but then the next paper, the same problem seems to be there. And I'm like, I don't think they learned this. So that's one way of letting your pen go in that online classroom, is don't always just tell them what's wrong. Have them go look a subject that is a growth opportunity.
And I think being mindful of your own tendency. So I know that I tend to be a rescuer protector personality innately. And so I sometimes want to rescue my students as well, rather than, I want to fix everything for them and assume that they're going to internalize that and do it right the next time. That doesn't happen. Debbie mentions here, find the one thing, like what is the one big correction that we can make to help them move forward and that they will internalize. So being, I think, willing to be vulnerable about where I might not be as strong as an instructor, I think is important too.
Absolutely. Oh, and Julie mentions the importance of building those relationships, has been mentioned here, is where that investment begins. And students need to know we not only, care about their academic success, but we also care about them, which is absolutely true. And we've talked about it many times in that introductory, that initial kickoff, and how we get to know students. If we just take the time to value and invest, whatever their name they prefer. A lot of times students have nicknames they prefer to be called, or they've never in their lives used their official name, but that's how it's presented in the course. And so, if we take the time to do those little things and show that just a little, that respect of like, I got you. I read, I know who you are, and I'm calling you what you want to be, and called and identified, and move ahead from there. And then make notes along the way if we need to, so that we don't forget. And I ask students to help me remember, if you prefer your nicknames, then sign off with your nickname in the discussion. And then I'll see the official name in the paper. And I'm like, for me, you can use your nickname so that I remember. Selfishly, it's so when I give feedback, I don't get it wrong. But it's that validation. And that's exactly right, Julie. If we just build that relationship with them, the matter of geography, if I've ever visited where a student is telling me where they're from, and I can connect the dots on, oh, you guys have the best roller coasters, or whatever it is, then that just lifts up that relationship. So I certainly, if you're not doing that, because I've been in a lot of courses, and I know you all are, so if you're not doing that, certainly do consider that. With that, our time is winding down here. I just couldn't believe how much of that passed on us, Kelly. And, all good things do come to an end. So I would like for you to please watch in the chat box. I'm going to go ahead and paste that right now. Your certificates, 1 second here. And make sure I give that to everyone, not just back to myself. There you go. So watch the chat box for your screen for a link, or the screen for the link to the Ed Talk homepage. This is where the Ed Talks are archived, and also where you can get the certificate for having attended. Along with that, you'll find the homepage is just chock full of all of our archives. So please, as you have an opportunity to take a look at that, please do so. And we want to acknowledge the work of Liz Wiseman. Next slide, please. And her Multipliers book for the inspiration for today's Ed Talk, as well as the rest of the series this year. I want you to mark your calendars and be watching for the September invitation for our next Ed Talk session, where it's going to be at September the 16th. I'll be your host, and Dr. Kathleen Pierce-Friedman will be sharing on the topic of the unintentional diminisher as we continue the conversation of multipliers. We thank you for joining us today, and a huge thank you again to Dr. Kelly Olson Stewart for sharing with us and to inspire our next steps in supporting our students and one another. On behalf of the Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences, Dr. Tony Farrell, and your friends here in the Department of Education and Liberal Arts at the University of Arizona Global Campus, we thank you for being here. See y'all next month. Bye now.
Thank you.